meeting of the Farmington Public Schools Board of Education. Ms. Heinrich is sitting in as secretary for Mr. Walker this evening. May we please have a roll call?
Yes, Mr. Rich?
Here.
Ms. Fox?
Here.
Ms. Weems?
Here.
I myself am here. Ms. Smith?
Here.
Dr. Blau?
I am here.
Mr. Walker is absent.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite the dance company to come to the podium to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if they would be so kind.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. All right, moving on to approval of the agenda. Yes. Mr. Rich, sorry.
I move that the Board of Education approve the May 2nd, 2023 regular meeting agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rich, seconded by Ms. Heinrich. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passed. Okay. Some announcements this evening. We thank you for your interest in attending or viewing, if you are at another location, viewing us remotely, our Farmington Public Schools Board of Education meetings. The Open Meetings Act requires that all meetings of the Board of Education be held in public. As a result, our board meetings are the only place and time that we as a collective board can legally work together on district matters. While these board meetings are held in public for the purpose of full transparency, they are not public meetings. While you are welcome to attend our board meetings in person or watch from elsewhere, we must take whatever time we need to address, discuss, and hear presentations on all matters of importance to our work for the district. Further, we, the members of the Farmington Public Schools Board of Education, together with our superintendent, have agreed to abide by the following standards of behavior when interacting with one another both during our board meetings and elsewhere, even when we disagree with one another's points of view. They are as follows: listen actively, no sidebar conversations, respect people and their ideas, presume positive intent, use electronic devices respectfully and stay engaged, listen to learn, not to defend, be brave, and be vulnerable. We thank our community members by abiding by these standards of behavior, as well as our fellow board members. And with that, let's move on to the recognition of our dance community. Dr. Delgado?
Thank you, Dr. Blau, and good evening, everyone. We're very, very excited to welcome our dance company of Farmington Public Schools. So if you wouldn't mind, why don't you come to the podium while I say nice things about you. As they're coming up, the dance company of Farmington Public Schools, well known as the Harrison Dance Company, returned to the National High School Dance Festival on March 1st through 5th, 2023, after a 3-year break due to COVID. On March 1st, thousands of high school dancers from around the world converged at Point Park University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for a 4-day marathon filled with master classes in various dance forms, workshops, lectures, scholarship auditions, and student performances. The National High School Dance Festival is the largest recruitment resource for high school students interested in pursuing dance at a college or professional level. Our very own Sophia Vella, an FHS sophomore, participated in the audition, which resulted in an official scholarship offer from the prestigious Ruth Page School of Dance in Chicago, Illinois. 10 selections by Webster University, Brenau University, Texas Christian University, Lindenwood University, Virginia Commonwealth University, Broadway Dance Center, and Joffrey Ballet Academy in New York. A panel of judges, including college professors and industry professionals, determined the programming for 9 concerts based on a video audition process. Only 1/3 of the submissions were selected for performance. Our dance company was honored to present 2 dances at the festival. Chandler Stewart Coleman, Farmington High School senior, performed a solo choreographed by Christopher Huggins, a former dancer and assistant to the famous Alvin Ailey. Our entire ensemble performed a piece choreographed by Wayne State University faculty member Brandon Kopsel. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to and congratulate our Farmington Dance Company. And of course, we have with us our wonderful Toy Banks, Farmington High School dance teacher. And although we don't have enough space for our young ladies to perform, we do have a video. So I'll turn it over to you.
Great.
Sure, you're welcome to say a few things, and then we'll show the video.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Delgado, and members of the board and community. Thank you for honoring and recognizing the efforts, hard work of the dance company tonight. I guess I'll call their names up. So I would like to recognize Jacqueline Brown.
And we do have certificates for you as well.
Sydney Cole. Brooke Crutcher. Nina Harris. The last one. Camille Jeffries. Amanda Muhar. Elise Scott. Allison Stewart. Sophia Vella. And 2 of our dancers were unable to join us this evening. That would be Kaylin Moore and Chandler Coleman Stewart.
Yeah, you guys can stay there. Yeah, please. Would you rather sit down? Okay.
It's not a highway, a straight road to follow. Unless
Yeah, I just want to say that was absolutely beautiful. It was elegant, it was graceful, you made it appear effortless. I'm sure that it was not. I'm really interested to understand how long you have to practice to put something like that, on. I noticed that your day was like from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on that particular day, but I'm really interested in understanding how long it took you to learn that choreography, to, perform as a team, to work together, to develop that trust for that fall, all of that. I'm really interested in it.
Hello? Oh, okay, it works. Okay. Well, Brandon came in for, I think it was 3 days. We had probably 5 to 7 hour rehearsals every day with him, just with the whole company to rehearse it. After that, I believe we had a few other pieces going on at that time, so we divided our rehearsals up between the pieces and whichever one we dedicated to. We obviously had to have this one pretty spot on in order for it to make it to the festival, so we did spend some extra time on it. And that day that we performed it, we had actually spent the first half of the day in classes, taking any range of different dance styles, so not necessarily contemporary, but we had to. It was in blocks, so the block before our performance, we stopped class so that we could warm up and prepare and make sure that our bodies were warm and our minds were in the right place to be able to perform. And then after that, we went back to class, back to watching performances, we got dinner, so the whole week was pretty crazy, but in terms of rehearsal time, we did dedicate a lot of time to it.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you to the director, who is Ms. Toy. That's phenomenal. And the parents, too. I'm sure that you guys had a hand in that as well. Congratulations. That is really well done.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Ms. Smith.
To Toy Banks, I have been a part of that dance company, not as a dancer, but a mother of a dancer that went through this program, and I have witnessed and come to every performance. And now you have one of the last of my family members that has taken this. And my niece, great niece, yes, I got a great niece, Camille Jeffries is in the back with her beautiful mom, Pumpkin. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you out like that, but Eunice Jeffries. They have been, and her daughters have gone through this for years, and I have not seen anything that you have done that has not made this program would be like, we don't want this anymore. Thank you so much for all the work that you have done and the work that you have done with these girls. People don't realize many of them get scholarships and full rides. And so as you see this dancer, you can tell she's a dancer by the way her legs is crossed up here. But thank you so much for all the work that you have done, and thank you for still working with my family. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Heinrich, go ahead.
I always want to go back to school because they never had these fine arts programs when I was in school. And as a matter of fact, I remember when my kids were in high school, Farmington High School was renovated and the dance rooms and the practice facilities were put in. So it's really exciting. And so my daughters dance, my granddaughter dances, and it's just, to see the joy in what you do and, to have that available during the school day too. It's just such a wonderful opportunity for our young people to be able to express themselves and have the opportunities to do this. So I'm so thankful that you were able to, share this with us, and just congratulations. Again, you can't hear that too many times.
I know from personal experience as a dancer myself what goes into that kind of performance, and there is nothing accidental about it. It is very intentional, grueling, joyful, and also grueling at the same time. And I'm so proud of all of you and so happy for all of you that you were able to achieve this level of recognition for all the hard work that you put in to your dance. So congratulations again, and we're going to take a short recess so that we can all come and congratulate you personally. So we'll take just a 5-minute recess.
I'm telling you, I'm ready to just... It's funny.
First time I saw it.
You should see them do the whole dance. When you go to their concerts, two of my daughters can do it. That little girl, she can't do it. But she has had them the whole time. Toy has had them, and then she's had Eunice's kids. Yeah. And they're really good. Yeah. They're really good, and so many good scholarships, and just, you would be amazed. This is her last one that she has, and she'll be, she's got one more year in high school, and then she's done. Yeah, so. So Eunice is the niece, and then Camille is the great niece.
Oh, okay.
So she has two that went through this. And then
And you say your daughter danced in this too?
two of them. So the oldest one, and the youngest one. And then all three hers. Camille is the youngest, so Pumpkin has, I gotta quit calling her Pumpkin. But she's the youngest. Camille is the youngest, but Pumpkin.
You want to take a picture with them?
All right, ladies and gentlemen and friends, we would like to call our meeting back to order. Okay, here we go. Thank you. The gavel has spoken. All right, whoops. We are moving on to items from the secretary, Ms. Heinrich.
The board has received communications regarding the April 4th, 2023 board meeting, Hillside Leadership Day, CARES Campus Cleanup, and LED lock entry doors. Communications are acknowledged and a response is provided when appropriate. A list of correspondence can be found in the board packet available on the FPS website.
Thank you, Ms. Heinrich. Next, we have our legislative update. Mr. Rick.
Thank you. So a few things. Sorry. There we go. So a few things going on right now. A lot of it coming from the state. So sinking funds are now going to be eligible for transportation. So that was a Senate bill that was granted immediate effect and sent over to the governor for signing through Senate Bill 63. Both the House and Senate K-12 subcommittees have presented their budgets for moving forward. We are looking at between a 4% to 6% increase in the foundational allowance. So either $95.16 per student through the House bill or $9,700 per pupil through the Senate bill. And so some of those, there are a lot of details still to iron out, but that's what we are looking at for increases there. It does also include looking at covering breakfast and lunch for all the 1.5 million school children in Michigan. So that is incredible to see. Now, a lot of this does still need to get ironed out and sent through the budget system, but they're looking to have an actual budget coming through by the end of May, which would be incredible. And so it needs to happen after debate and approval of the full Appropriations Committee, so that still needs to happen. Lastly, the Senate Committee approved the repealing of the A through F ranking system. So that's through the Senate Education Committee through House Bill 4166. And so a lot of this comes down to what actual metrics show improvement, what shows growth, and they were saying that through this system it's flawed in the way that it does things, and so they are looking at bringing that back, and it's now before the full Senate for consideration, and vote is expected this week.
Thank you. That's a lot of very good news. Thank you, Mr. Rich. Next, we have our district updates from Dr. Delgado.
Thank you, Dr. Blau, and good evening again. So several congratulations and accolades to many of our students, as you saw with the dance company, and as you've seen in recognitions throughout our board meetings, our students are thriving in so many ways, both academically as well as in extracurricular pursuits. And a couple to mention, congratulations to our students from Farmington High School who participated in the Business Professionals of America 2023 National Leadership Conference in Anaheim, California, over the spring break. So their hard work throughout the year enabled them to compete with 6,000 students in the nation for the highest honors in business. We had several students who won top awards, including Ben Richmond, who won in device configuration and troubleshooting, top 10 award, as well as device configuration certification and Python certification. We had Vijay Nanapuraju, who won second place in web design and in Java programming certification. We had Aiden Cummings, who won second place. Again, this is in the nation, in web design. Samuel Bali, second place in web design. Akshay Kumar, Java programming certification. Nalima Patel, Microsoft Word and PowerPoint certification, and Ankita Kumar in Microsoft PowerPoint certification. So our students are applying what they're learning in math and in science directly to these intellectual and competitions around the nation. And so we congratulate those students in BPA. We always have a strong DECA team, and we had, this year was no different. We had DECA students in Orlando compete. Over 20,000 students from 6 countries competed in DECA. And once again, we had some awards. We had Hasini Bogji, Makash Jina, and Iswara Mandi receive second place in the MDA Diversity Challenge. We had Sanyana Datia place top 20 out of 234 students in her personal financial literacy event. Kennedy Williams and Ali Trushane earned a gold award for Outstanding School Store, the Falcon's Nest. And so we are very, very proud of our DECA students, as well as our BPA students, as well as our dance students and our art students and our math students. So, and our robotics students, our students are just thriving. But it's not just our students, our employees are thriving as well. So I want to congratulate our very own Diane Bauman, who presented at the Marketing 101 for Small Businesses. She was an honored guest speaker at the Farmington Small Business Series Lunch and Learn. So we look to our industry professionals to present about marketing, and we know what a great job she does with marketing here in our school district. And then Mr. John Barth, who's not able to be with us this evening, but recently was recognized with the Michigan School Business Officials, receiving, this is his 4th Meridian Award from MSBO, and the MSBO Meridian Award of Excellence is a special recognition award acknowledging successful practices in all areas of school management and education. Mr. Barth is a very, very experienced director of facilities and operation who's been both at the K-12 level as well as collegiate level, and very well respected around the state and recognized now for the 4th time, and he's one of ours, we're proud to say. So many people thriving in this district doing really good work on behalf of children and families. Another couple announcements. I am very happy to announce that our very own Farmington Hills Police and Fire Departments are presenting a Bike Safety Day. So Saturday, May 20th, starts at 11, ends at 3. It's going to be at the 47th District Court, and they have a wonderful, cute flyer that we will put in Peach Jar and everywhere else. but the activities include bike safety inspection, helmet inspection, and rules of the road. And so this is just another example of the outreach of our law enforcement that does so much more than just policing and keeping us safe. We appreciate that, but they partner with our schools in so many different ways for educational purposes and being a true resource officer and liaison officer that bridges the family to the school. So we're proud of that partnership as well. And then last but not least, May 1st, we have made it to May, if you can believe it or not. May 1st is International Workers' Day. So around the world, it's a celebration of labor around the world. And even though our American Labor Day is in September, May 8th through 12th is Staff Appreciation Week. So I just want to take this moment to thank all of our very dedicated Farmington Public Schools staff for their daily dedication to the students and families in this district. Regardless of the position, you all matter, and whether you're directly instructing or you're supporting instruction, you are part of the FPS family, and so we so appreciate all of you and all that you do for our school community. So with that, those are the end of my superintendent updates, and I can move right into our next district update that we're very, very excited about. I'd like to invite up to the podium our Assistant Superintendent of Talent Development, Mr. Brad Paddock, who will introduce our A.R.K. talent model.
We're both competing for the mouse behind stage. Okay. Good evening, Dr. Delgado, President Blau, and the Board of Education. Thank you so much for having us here this evening. This is an exciting unveiling for us here tonight. Presenting here with me, co-presenting tonight, is Gazelle Watkins. Gazelle is she is a human resources generalist as part of the human resources department, and not only is she here tonight presenting with me, but she is also the co-chair of the talent development committee that we both serve on. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to unveil and kind of officially, publicly announce something that we are calling the A.R.K. talent model, and that is what we're going to be doing for you here this evening.
So, of course, Brad and I can't do the whole committee by ourselves and do everything. So we had a great team of committee members. All of them are listed on our on the board, and the names with the asterisks, those are the ones who were on the planning committee, who we met before the regular large committee meetings and put together some plans for us. So I'm going to talk about the history of the Talent Development Committee. The Talent Development Committee actually started pre-COVID. There was a small group of people who got together and worked on developing the Talent Development Committee and talking about what's needed in order to bring folk here into Farmington Public Schools. During the 21-22 school year, we had an opportunity to increase the number of people who are on the Talent Development Committee. And we also put together the commitment statements, which focused on a retention plan, which gave us the foundation for what we were able to do this school year.
So that brings us to this school year. When we got together as the Talent Development Committee, we started talking about and honoring the work of the past when it came to the retention plan. And one of the things when we looked at the data, that we are about 2.5% short of being 100% staffed. So in one breath, thinking that we have our district out of 1,200 employees, 97.5% staffed, the reality is we're still 2.5% short of being 100% staffed. And that was the focus with the Talent Development Committee, to start talking about, well, maybe we can't just talk about retention, that we have to purposely talk about attracting and recruiting into Farmington. And that began this months and months long journey this year of ultimately coming up with what you see in front of us tonight. And that is the A.R.K. talent model is a framework for talent development that focuses on attracting, recruiting, and keeping top talented staff members in Farmington Public Schools. And our slogan connected to this is building our students' future one employee at a time. So this year, one of the advantages that Gazelle and I've had within HR is that we knew and we were kind of facilitating this work when it came to eventually getting to what we're calling the A.R.K talent model. But we had thoughts and ideas within the HR department in these areas. And so I want to talk just a little bit about some of the things that are already happening here with this model. When we think about attracting job fairs, that's not a new concept. But the reality is, it's been years in this district that we have had a presence at some of the job fairs around the state. And I'm proud to say that we have been in person to over 4 job fairs so far. We have another virtual one coming up throughout the state. And we, of course, have future ideas of even going out of state for some job fairs to talk about Farmington Public Schools. And job fairs, you don't always necessarily have to come home for a win when you get 1 or 2 people. It's always nice. But the idea that we're putting Farmington out there amongst all these other employer groups out there in the state of Michigan or even out of the state in the future, that's a huge, huge point of pride. And we want to make sure that we're always public facing when it comes to making sure that we have a presence at some of these job fairs. The Try It Out Day. If you remember several months ago, we had some very successful news coverage when it came to our bus driver Try It Out Day. That is an example of something newer in Farmington that we implemented this, and we actually got several employees from that day. And so the Try It Out Day would be one area that would be newer this year of something in the area of attract. And when it comes to recruiting, something fun that HR started this year, I'll click here if this will work, is that we've all seen your job postings. We know that the front of a job posting would be kind of the start date, the salary, some job description, some essential functions of that job. But in our hard-to-fill areas, so specifically in the special education jobs, we went ahead and Dr. Moore, we worked with her and in the school community relations department, and we started to get staff testimonials. And so what you're looking at is an actual page that we started to connect to all of our job postings in the area of special education. And this was just one example of the idea of what can we do to continue to try to recruit some of the very, very best staff. And Gazelle's going to talk a little bit about a keep strategy that we started this year.
You know, I'm going to go back for a second. I failed to acknowledge one of our committee members who have been with us since the beginning, pre-COVID, working with us through that, and that's Margaret Hendrickson, who's on our committee. Thank you, Margaret. So I'm going to talk to you about our staff connection. So the staff connection is an expansion of our regular onboarding HR process in which you come in, you have your meeting, you get your paperwork. As part of the staff connection, we also have put together a process of that provides us an opportunity to build a connection and trust with newly hired Farmington Public Schools family members. It's a process that's designed to keep our people here once they get here, and also to connect with the staff. So the connection begins as soon as someone accepts an offer from Farmington Public Schools. They have their initial meeting, and then after that, at 30, 60, 90-day intervals, we have an opportunity to do one-on-one meetings. And in the course of these meetings with our new family members, we talk to them about the experiences that they're having in their school building or in the department in which they work in. Our conversations center around how they're transitioning, how are they receiving the training and resources that are necessary. How did you feel about our application and our onboarding process? We also talk about what do you think of the culture of Farmington Public Schools and also the building or school that you work in. This gives us that opportunity to, if there's anything going wrong with them, to catch it, if they need some extra resources, to provide those resources to them. So I do have some responses from some of our conversations. And I also have data from the people that we've hired from January the 1st, 2023 to 4/30/2023. It lists the number of new hires, and then those are some of the quotes from our conversations. Overall, we received 100% positive feedback that people feel like they made a good decision coming to Farmington Public Schools, and they feel supported about what's happening in the district.
We can't go anywhere or read any type of literature that doesn't talk about the importance of onboarding in not only the private sector, but also the public sector. And so I just personally, I want to thank Gazelle because she is in charge of all of these staff connections. And what we're learning about onboarding is it is so much more than the procedural steps of talking about the paycheck cycle or the benefits that you're going to receive. And just this idea connected, as she said, to culture. We are so excited about what we can bring to the future. And ultimately, this is absolutely a keep strategy that we are very excited about moving forward into next year. So just to recap, these are some small things that have been happening even before we've unveiled the talent development logo. Opportunity for staff input. And you can see right here, we have a tabletop banner, and we cannot do this work alone. And we are excited to have the opportunity for all of our staff members to provide input in the areas of attract, recruit, and keep. Now, our job will be to then look at all of this information and continue to process it as a talent development committee. But we are super excited to be able to say, hey, listen, we've got some great ideas, but we're not the only ones. And so the idea that an employee is going to have the opportunity to give us input, we're super excited about that. This little tabletop banner that you're looking at, it of course has a QR code. That QR code would take you to a survey. There's also an email that they can go ahead and email the HR office directly. But this is a sample survey that staff could fill out and provide us any sort of ideas in the area of attract, recruit, and keep. And so we're super excited to be able to have these. We've purchased a couple. We're not sure if we're going to have them on a road show and go around building to building in some of the main offices or in the staff lounges, or if we're going to end up purchasing one for every single school. But the importance of staff knowing, the employees know that we want to listen to their ideas is extremely important to us, and we believe this is a way that honors that work. Looking ahead to 23-24 school year, now that we're going to unveil this for you this evening, we have envisions as a talent development committee to create what we'll call ambassadors, talent development ambassadors. As we get these ideas from paraeducators, or we get these ideas from administrators or some of our maintenance staff, we want folks, and you saw some of those names in the beginning, we want those folks to, we're going to identify ambassadors or champions of any paraeducator ideas. They'll go to somebody on that committee and they can work on that. Any administrative ideas in the area of attract, recruit, or keep will go to a certain ambassador. That's the vision that we have going into next year for the Talent Development Committee. Of course, we want to connect this work to the new mission and vision statement that we're working on as a district, and we're excited about that. Staff Portrait Collaborative Project. There's a strategic committee. You heard several board meetings ago, you heard from the culture of equity and innovation. We heard from that strategic plan committee talking about having something that's going to parallel our profile of a lifelong learner and having something like a staff portrait or a staff learner, or a staff profile. So we are super excited about this opportunity that not only to have the learner profile for our students, but what do we want in a staff member, regardless of position, for Farmington Public Schools? We're very excited about this work. I mentioned 100% fully staffed. We have to be. That is our job. We can be proud of 97.5% filled, which we are. Unfortunately, we get judged on the 2.5, and that's okay because we shoulder that work. We take responsibility for that work as a human resources department. But we're excited that this might help us close that gap to getting to 100% when it comes to filling all of our jobs. Prioritizing the ideas and input received, it kind of goes hand in hand. If we're going to ask for input, we want to make sure that we're doing something, with that input. And then continuing to market the Why Farmington. In just a moment, I'm going to have a picture of a recent job fair, and it was the display that we had to represent Farmington Public Schools. And on one of the banners created by our school community relations department, one of the kind of the tagline similar to the graphics up here was Why Farmington. And so we're excited to kind of see where that goes when it comes to talking about the areas of attract, recruit, and keep.
So the Why Farmington banner that you see up on the picture is connected, has a connection to the profile of lifelong learners. So that was important to us when we're talking about why come to Farmington. As our logo says, we're building our students' futures one employee at a time. I also want to say that as talented as we are, we know that we would not be able to design these banners by ourselves. So Diane Bowman in the School and Community Relations Department was really great in helping us put together these designs and with a lot of talking. But I really want to say that Julie Langdon, who's the team member from Diane's team that worked with us, was fantastic and very patient with us as we did a lot of back and forth with her, asking her to change a dot here and a period there, and putting together our logos and also our banners and helping us design our banners.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so this was just a quick picture of a display that we had at one of our recent job fairs. On the left, the Why Farmington brand new banner, and then of course we have our lifelong learner profile, and then just the setup of the table. So as we bring close tonight, thinking about unveiling this publicly and then allowing us a chance to move forward with this as kind of a backbone or a structure, something to come back to when we make decisions, important decisions within the HR department. We believe in this and we're super excited about this. To me, it's never just one thing that's going to get us to 100% staff filled. We can talk about the importance of salary, we can talk about the importance of benefits, but the idea that what we want to bring and create in Farmington for the culture of all of our employees, this starts to speak to that. And we think that there's some intentionality here when it comes to thinking about these three areas that together they ultimately create being 100% staffed. And when we're 100% staffed, we talk about all the time what's best for kids, and we know that's our mission. We know that's our purpose. What I'm saying is that when we take care of our employees, when we're 100% staffed and we take care of our employees, that's the best thing for kids. And when we take care of the employees, the kids will absolutely thrive. And so when we think about the work of the Talent Development Committee, we're truly, truly excited. One of the things that I like to say is we all, as employees, work in the district. We understand the importance of working in the district. The fun stuff is working on the district. There's a self-efficacy piece that Gazelle and I have when we do this work. There's some self-efficacy and pride when it comes to the work that we're doing in the Human Resources Department for Farmington Public Schools. And all of these small things will add up so we are 100% staffed for our children in Farmington Public Schools. We thank you tonight for an opportunity for us to unveil to you the A.R.K talent model where we're building our students' futures one employee at a time. Thank you.
Ms. Smith?
I really love marketing after November. What I'd like to see is we do have the lifelong learner, profile of the lifelong learner on a little card. If there's any way that we can do those so that when you're out in the community, because I was in Lansing this weekend, and that's a way of networking, to bring people in. As well as I've been giving building tours to grandparents of this district and letting them come in and see what these schools look like for their grandchildren. And a couple have asked me, hey, are you hiring? Well, I would like to have something like this to hand over, as well as we've got these real expensive, beautiful signs. Instead of buying the ones that we just see lined up against the walls, I would like to see this on the signs, you know, the marquees as they go at your schools. And people would really, I would stop and pay attention to that as a,
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. We look forward to you filling out a survey.
oh, no, I ain't.
We'll prioritize that idea. How's that?
Well, no, but I'm just giving you the ideas now. That's why I don't need the survey.
Oh, I got to remember that.
So,
Thank you.
Ms.
Appreciate
Baumann,
that. Thank
Ms.
you.
Baumann, did you get those notes? Okay. And then you can put them on the marquee out there too, to keep me from doing a survey?
We'll
That's
allow you
fine.
to skip the survey.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. All right.
Thank you. Ms. Heinrich?
Yeah. You're probably not looking for advice, but I just want to throw this out there since you have all these great ideas. When I went for March Reading Month, the teacher's classroom that I read to, she was one of those teachers that's like, gosh, I want to go back to school and be in her class. And she had a student teacher, which was as enthusiastic, and the teacher showed up as Teacher of the Year. I was like, aren't you the teacher that I read to his class? And she's like, yes. So I just want to throw out student teachers when you're attracting and recruiting. I would like to hear future, how you're having job fairs and recruiting and soliciting and trying to bring in student teachers to our district, because that's a really good way to develop teachers, and it's also a good way to live into our, even to go to bring in more diverse staff and, for all of our students to see themselves represented in the classroom in different roles. So I just want to, I'd like to challenge you to, report on that in the future too. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I am thrilled that this is an area of focus, that our people are an area of focus. Our people are extremely important to us, and you're right. When we do right by our people, the students are going to benefit from that. I was really happy to see that there's such a diverse group of people on the committee, and I hope to see that continues. I'm wondering whether this is a committee that was formed to produce this, and whether that committee is going to continue to be engaged on the keep side of this to make sure that we continue to have the focus on the people.
Yes, it's intentional, looking for all representation from all of our bargaining groups or employee groups. So yes, we have all staff represented on that committee, and that is a standing committee as far as there's some historical presence there, which Gazelle talked about, and we have zero intentions of changing that for the future, that we will continue to look for the right work to do with this Talent Development Committee. We're very excited about it.
Thank you.
Mr. Rich?
So first, thank you so much for this presentation. It's great to see the work that's being done on making sure that we continue to have best and brightest here in Farmington, not only keeping them here, but also bringing them in from elsewhere. And I think one quote that just sticks with me is that we all work in the district, but the joy that you get working on the district. And so that is so important and so great for all of us to hear, because that is what we like to see, is continued improvement. So thank you so much for that, and that's definitely going to be a little nugget that I keep in the back of my mind as we continue moving forward in this process. So thank you.
Thank you for those sentiments. Thank you.
It's really exciting to see how committed we are as a district to finding the best talent for our student community, and then putting forth the effort to keep them with us, to celebrate them, acknowledge them, support them, so that they'll stay with us. And that it's not just about getting to 100%, but getting to 100% with quality, that we're putting out there, this is our profile of a lifelong learner. These are our priorities. These are our goals. This is how we roll in Farmington. And if this sounds like a good fit for you, come join us. So that's just really exciting. Thank you so much.
It brings us great joy. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yes. Right. Next, we have reports from board committees. And I have a report from our legislative committee. We have been focusing a lot this school year on looking at the Michigan Merit Curriculum graduation requirements and learning about to what degree we as a district and a board have latitude to determine how those graduation requirements are met. The work that we have done has inspired our superintendent to establish as one of his goals for our district next year to reimagine how high school students can earn credits based on their proficiency instead of the amount of time they spend in class. And this is reflected in the material available on the State of Michigan website when you read the Michigan Merit Curriculum explanation. So this is not just our goal, but also the goal of the state in terms of structuring the Michigan Merit Curriculum so that individual school districts have this kind of flexibility. By doing so, a student's diploma can accurately reflect their knowledge and skills, not just the courses they have taken. In addition, the subcommittee aims to develop innovative high school programs using the Michigan Merit Curriculum's flexibility. To achieve this goal, the superintendent, assistant superintendent of innovation and strategic projects, and director of curriculum will discuss with the high schools ways in which we might move forward on this initiative. So that's looking forward to next school year to begin that conversation based upon the work that our legislative committee has done this year. So I'm very excited about the possibilities that exist for us as a district going forward. And that is my report. Next, we have 2 items to discuss this evening. We have the review of the Spanish 1 and 2 textbook adoption proposal.
Sure.
Would you like to?
And I can give a brief introduction. I'll just say que estoy muy orgulloso a presentar a nuestro participante para compartir un propuesto de libros nuevos de español 1 y 2. Bienvenidos.
Are you done?
I'm done.
I want to make sure there wasn't a pause in the Spanish, so I have no idea what was just said. That's why they're up here with me. So, Margaret Hendrickson, Director for Curriculum Instruction Assessment, and I'm so pleased to be here today to talk about a potential adoption of a new instructional resource for our Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 courses. And I'd like to have each of our ILs, who are instructional leaders that represent their buildings in the area of world language, kind of introduce themselves. Make sure you, okay.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jennifer Michaels, and I teach at Farmington High School. I'm embarrassed to it. Well, not embarrassed. I'm proud. I'm very proud. I've been there for 28 years. I am the dinosaur. So super excited to be here tonight to present this to you all because I haven't been this excited in years. This is so great.
And I'm Lauren O'Neill. Sorry, I can barely see over the monitor. I am the instructional leader at North Farmington High School, and Jen has more experience than me, but she's just as fabulous. But I've been in the district for about 6 or 7 years, and this is my 11th year teaching, and I teach the AP level Spanish as well as Spanish 1, so I get a little bit of everything.
So we're here today to look at a new instructional resource for both Spanish 1 and 2 by the same publisher. So you'll notice that 2 books are coming around. One is for the Spanish 1 course, one is for Spanish 2, and then there's a workbook excerpt from the Spanish 2 that would come along with the resource. So I thought we'd ask our colleagues here to tell us a little bit about what is in Spanish 1 and 2 as part of our world language curriculum.
So Spanish 1 and 2 is just an introduction of the students to the language and culture. It's kind of at the beginner level. We expect them to have performance-based tasks as they start to experiment in the language. By performance, we mean skills of reading, writing, listening, and speaking in the language. And we also want them to learn how to communicate in real-world situations, or as we call them, authentic. Authentic just means things that are created by Spanish speakers for Spanish speakers. And then we also want to focus on the 5 C's, which is part of the Michigan curriculum of communication, cultures, connections, comparisons, and community.
So our work around Spanish is really based, and all of our world language is based on a proficiency model for instruction. We have been in a really strong place with our curriculum around Spanish, but have a desire to start to move forward practice that has been really strong, but also integrate newer approaches to support authentic learning in Spanish. And so we did some learning with the World Language Department this summer, continued to have conversations this fall to really establish what is it that we would like instruction to look like. And we leveraged the ACTFL, which is the American Council on the Teaching of for Languages, which really establishes a lot of best practice in this area. And there were some specific areas within the ACTFL framework that we use to kind of really think about our current practice and how our current resources support connecting to these practices. As we started to look at the research and the best practice from ACTFL, we really spent some time reflecting on what were our priorities in a text. A text is a resource, a tool that supports a larger instructional model. So we wanted to make sure that this resource would support teachers and students. And we highlighted key 8 priority areas for the text. And there's just a few of them that we thought we would share with you a little bit. And one of them is really focused, because we're working towards authenticity, is theme-based unit design. Can you speak to that a little bit, especially its connection to the AP course?
So task-based, unit design, theme-based, we already do that in our courses by centering the language around life situations such as family, school, food, leisure, things like that, things that are real life situations. And we also really liked this particular textbook because it does connect to the AP and IB themes, even at a lower level. And so if a student goes to North Farmington, they'd be progressing to that AP level, and at Farmington, they'd be progressing to the IB level. So we really liked their connections to those types of tasks and introducing the students to that level of rigor at an appropriate level.
And part of our current instructional design that we wanted to move forward was this focus on anchoring each unit in a task-based assessment. Can you share a little bit about that?
I can. So you all may recall your days of learning languages as learning grammar rules and vocabulary lists and just kind of regurgitating that. And not to say that we don't still have vocabulary and language control rules, but we really do focus on the output, the end result of being an assessment that is based on a purpose and a real life task. An example I could share with you is something as simple as being in a restaurant and you're sitting down with somebody who doesn't know any Spanish and the menu's all in Spanish, and my task may be to help you choose what you should be eating and what you can avoid. It could also be that we spilled something and we need extra napkins, so now we need to ask for extra napkins. So real life tasks that are in the target language based on the unit, the unit design that we've got going on with our particular theme. That makes
Another piece that we looked at as we think about one of our district instructional priorities is really using diverse types of text in each and every classroom, not just the literacy classroom. So we really wanted to make sure a text would push forward video, audio, stories, and graphics. And one of those pieces that she mentioned about grammar rules, and she explained it much better than I can, is to do that contextualized, just like we do with early learners in K2 and early language development, is how do we contextualize the grammar and the vocabulary, and as well as having some explicit guided instruction. It's very much a balanced approach, just like we do in early literacy. So as you look at those texts, while you might not know the language, one of the things that was really exciting to me was I could tell that students were learning that in context because they had to make a lot of noticing about the language in the context of a story or a text piece, as opposed to just rote memorization of certain grammatical rules that they then have to replicate. So we looked through a variety of text pieces, and this one came to the top very early in our selection as we reviewed through, I think, 3 or 4 different texts. And so this is the one in front of you. Yes, entre culturas. Did I say it right? You did. So one of the things we really looked at was the scope and sequence, and you'll notice that there's essential questions, and it is a driving force throughout the text, and it really chunks and scaffolds learning, which we really looked at the units and how all the concepts and stuff was developed. Again, we spoke to the themes, context-based vocabulary. And this particular piece, comes with a text. Actually, they come with readers for the kids in order to read different texts that's appropriate, little stories. It integrates with Canvas, our LMS. Students get to maintain an online portfolio within the digital platform, as well as have student workbooks, but also have the digital learning site.
So our hopeful plan is that we will start piloting this in Spanish 1 for all of our students in 23 and 24, hopefully for purchase this summer, so we can hit the ground running, do some professional development over the summer with the publisher and with our departments, and then phase in Spanish 2 in 24, 25. So take it as a slow roll to get it going.
Part of that is about implementation support, but it's largely about supporting kids as they move up. So if we start in this text in Spanish 1 and allow those students to then graduate into Spanish 2, as opposed to taking students that were in Spanish 1 with a different text and then putting them into the new text. So it helps build our capacity for implementation and support as we make shifts in our approach and also move forward. The strengths of our current program is making sure we're also scaffolding students as they enter. So you'll notice that the quote that came along with your board packet was for year 1, and that was for the Spanish 1 text. The Spanish 2 text wouldn't be purchased for another year. And that is it, unless there's something you'd like.
Excited.
Yeah, yes. I mean, really, a lot of what this was chosen for is because it really does complement what we're doing now. Just
it's all there. It's like handed to you on a platter. It's wonderful.
It is. We've had, just as we're talking about the trying to grab more people and keep people and get them excited about being part of Farmington Public Schools. Language teachers are hard to find. They are kind of needles in a haystack right now, and we've got this amazing. This is another carrot to dangle over. We've got a really great department across the district. Again, I've been here forever, and we really play really well in the sandbox together, and we're all just like. It's really fabulous. It's really great.
So it sounds like this particular resource is significantly different than other texts that you've had an opportunity to access in the past.
It really is.
Yeah, I just want to state publicly, my daughter Rachel's a Spanish teacher, and Mrs. Michaels was a young teacher, and Mrs. Michaels is the reason that Rachel loves Spanish and is a Spanish teacher. So I'm so glad that you're still here, and you haven't lost your enthusiasm. So thank you. Just some questions. I mean, I noticed it's a 2023 copyright, and I know that we have a rigorous textbook adoption procedure. So have you compared this with other textbooks, and have you piloted some of the resources in your classes this year?
So we did not engage in a pilot. What we did was engage in a review of the texts themselves to ensure that they were content aligned and that the resources in them supported our larger instructional design. So we don't follow the text line by line. We have an instructional design model. We develop units of study, and then this text is used to support them. So what we did was we started with a certain set of different text types. We looked at what was out there. We compared and contrasted them based on our rubric and made a decision whether or not a pilot would be necessary to make the distinction from one text to another. And one of the things that we learned is there's only so many texts that take this type of approach towards where we want to go. And so the other texts that we saw were so easily too similar to what we might have all experienced when we were school. in school. So we felt that this was of what was out there. We spoke to individuals at Oakland schools to see what they have recommended. One of our new teachers is actually was on the board of ACTFul, so is very familiar with the best practices. We were able to look at those professional groups, and they helped us fine-tune down which text. And so we felt confident that with our rubric and where we wanted to go and the resources of screening the text, that this was the best piece that we could find at this time. And we feel confident in its use.
I have more questions, but I'll wait. Can I ask now?
Yes.
Okay, so because it's different, are all your teachers on board, or what kind of support are you going to need in order to adopt it?
So we had a subgroup that met, which included the ILs and one or two other Spanish teachers to do an initial screening. We used our rubric. We identified which text was on our high list, which was this text. We brought the publisher in that then met with the entire Spanish department. I think one or two might have been absent, but everyone had an opportunity to look at the text here, and we recorded it so we could share it to make sure that we had buy-in from the group. And at each one of these moments, we knew we could shift or pivot if we felt we got to a place where we weren't ready. So we are planning right now what professional development would look like for them, what supports we would have during the school year as we roll it out. But we had, I would think it was 100% consensus.
I think Margaret was going to try to make us close our eyes and vote, like just to get a feel, not a real vote, but just let me just see. Who's union?
They stopped me because they said, we're done. This is the text we want. And it was something I pushed them kind of hard. They approached me last spring to make a decision, and I wanted to make sure we had done learning together as World Language Department. We had new people to the department and make sure we were really looking at what we wanted in the future and move forward again, what's really good quality, but then also what will take us to another level of making sure every student has equal access to a quality Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 experience.
Ms. Fox?
Yes, I was just wondering, is there any technology that is aligned to the textbooks and what have you?
Yes.
Saw a few things in terms of videos, or can you just talk a little bit about some of that kind of technology that aligns to it?
There's a digital platform that comes with it, so students have access to the online text, as do the teachers. What is nice is it has an interactive component where students can maintain a portfolio of their work and projects. And it also has an integration ability with Canvas. It actually was much more robust than I had envisioned for a world language online platform. I kind of assumed they would just have access to the digital text, but it was much more interactive and robust. You want to?
So the online website, the platform includes lots of cultural videos, which is what we feel is kind of lacking in our current curriculum that we would love to see. It's especially difficult to find authentic resources at the level that's attainable by levels 1 and 2, unless you do a wild goose chase across the internet, which has been really, really difficult on us teachers trying to find things that are appropriate for our classroom. So this has a lot of those videos and audio sources and things by native speakers, because we want our Spanish 1 and 2 students to be exposed to the language in real situations, and that's part of what that online platform includes. Activities, interactive diaries that they can type. They have the portfolio, of course, that we mentioned. They can watch videos of people doing a tour of their city. There's just a lot of really cool resources that are designed for a beginner student that are very hard to find up.
When we do find them, you go back to it next year and that link is gone.
Yep.
It's only happened.
Ms. Smith?
So that was one of my questions, was the, video or technology. So you're saying that there were no other books out there that topped this program?
We did not. Most of what we saw was on the traditional side.
And this was more,
and
that
this
would fit
was in the
Farmington.
middle. It moved us farther from where we are. Yes.
And again, just to reiterate that a lot of these things keep in mind that we are a program here at Farmington that is AP and IB.
Right.
It's not just 1 and 2. It's not just a middle school program. It does need to blend together. So are there other things out there and other techniques? Yeah, sure there are, but all of those can blend right on into this. And we've got a pretty wide variety of teachers, different experience levels, different energy levels, different strengths, and everybody felt like this was truly the golden book. It really was going to be a great.
And so, to let the audience know, we do have Spanish at Farmington, North, East, Howard, and Warner, and Steen. So all of our middle schools and our high schools are covered, except for Farmington Central.
And all of those levels are part of the same program. So they do get high school credit for their middle school course. So again, they're part of the.
That was the other question.
Yeah, they're part of the whole process.
Yeah, you have listed on here 500 workbooks, the $12,000. Now is that going to be a recurring cost?
Yep, so you'll find that the workbooks become a consumable recurring product that we will build into each budget, and you'll notice that each year to maintain the online digital subscription, we will maintain a fee for that, which this is normal for us to do as we have new adoptions, and so we work with the business office, we backwards design our curriculum budgets to make sure that we are able to continue to support the materials.
So the price for the hardcovers, print and digital, I assume we just buy the books once, but then is there a digital fee that we pay each year?
Yeah.
So that isn't separated?
We can do a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. We can decide how long we want to do that digital subscription, and we think the platform's pretty profound so that we'll continue to pay that piece. We can, and our intention at this point is to make sure each and every student has a hard copy as well as their digital access.
So then the digital price will be built into the department budgets, or how is that going to be funded each year? So it's a one-time cost for the books, but how are you going to, we maintain
that in our district budgets. And so when I build my budgets for the coming school year, we build in those recurring costs into our world language budget that we design.
All right, and then what's this, Ross, this $250 integrations fee?
So when you do online platforms today, a lot of them have, because they're personalized to the student, there's a rostering process where students get rostered to the platform, and we integrate the platform into Canvas, and so there's generally startup pieces related to that, and then that process becomes automatic from that point forward.
So is that a recurring cost or a one-time?
No, that's a one-time cost.
It's a one-time.
So will this price stay the same, or will you be coming back in a couple of years asking for some more money?
So we're always going to come asking for more money. If it's this, I don't know. So this is a textbook adoption proposal, and so you're being asked as the board to approve the textbook, and then we maintain in our internal budgets how to maintain those. Every 5 years, you should be reviewing your curriculum and resource materials.
Right.
Right now, we're coming to you for Spanish 1 and 2. French is interested in something, so you'll probably see us. We do not have to come back to you, though, for a quote each year. You're approving the instructional resources, and then we develop our budgets to support those.
Can I just add again, the dinosaur here? The last time we got anything new curriculum for the world language Spanish, easily 20 years ago. Easily.
So the Board of Ed will be seeing a variety of textbook adoptions as we really take a look post-COVID at where we are with social studies, world language, health. We really should be on a curriculum adoption cycle where we review subject areas every year and every subject every 5 years. And so we are in the process of launching that. We're looking at courses right now that haven't been attended to in a while and making sure that we work on the district and not just in the district. Quote Mr. Haddock.
Well, I don't want to nitpick, but I'm just looking at this shipping and handling fee. I mean, I get free shipping from Amazon, and,
So-
that seems, is this industry
So large
standard?
freight, so you're looking at the books, since you're looking at 500, so there's freight. So I think on there's also tax. So some of those pieces, once we have approval, we do our tax ID information, so the tax gets removed. And then there's generally, depending on the bulk, you usually will see like a 10% shipping and handling is usually when I'm making predictions, I do about a 10%.
So we don't pay sales tax?
No, so that'll come off the quote once we do the PO, send them our tax ID numbers. We do not pay tax on any of our textbook purchases because we are tax exempt. Thank you for the word.
Yes.
I just want to share a little perspective as a former Spanish teacher. And so I want to thank Jennifer and Lauren for their leadership as ILs in our district. This is really, really exciting for all of our students and for our district. There's a difference between the traditional ways of language instruction, which many of us experience, myself included, with traditional grammar and conjugation of verbs, as opposed to a proficiency-based approach. And so there's nothing more authentic than creating language or having to listen to language and create it yourself. And so having worked on this not only as a teacher but in my previous district overseeing world languages, we attempted to move towards a proficiency-based approach but without a textbook. And to your point, it was very difficult, if not impossible, for our teachers to find these authentic resources that they knew were safe to be viewed by children. It was very labor intensive. And so the fact that there's now kind of a sweet spot with a textbook, that we don't want our language teachers to be textbook dependent, but a textbook that has resources and the digital authentic tasks is wonderful. Just as a quick example, in a traditional class, we may have two students who are speaking to each other about the weather. But to actually be able to go on and watch a weather person from Venezuela or from Costa Rica or someplace, that's an authentic task. And so it's very, very exciting. My hope is that this would expand to all of our languages. You don't need a textbook to have proficiency-based instruction and to create authentic tasks. But a resource like this is fantastic for ensuring that there's equitable opportunity regardless of the school, regardless of the teacher. And so in my humble opinion, I would strongly support this. I'm very excited for all of our kids and all of our teachers. And the word itself, the title is Entre Culturas, which means between cultures. And when you're learning a foreign language in an American school, you really are between cultures, even if you happen to have some heritage speaking or a native background. So it's really between the American culture and learning language and really an odd situation that's not authentic. And so the fact that our teachers are trying to make it more authentic to move towards true bilingualism and celebration of our cultures is very admirable. So, muchísimas gracias.
So it's less of just a textbook and more of a whole toolbox, including digital online resources, links, this whole toolbox of resources that make it much more possible for our teachers to teach in this authentic.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
I appreciate having the workbook. That's because that shows them how to actually, instead of just opening the book and reading, they're put to task. Although Spanish was spoken in my home, but our oldest and youngest had you, not you, because my kids are old. So nothing against, no, but they've been through the district.
I told you.
But it has been helpful because it helps our students to be able to get jobs in other areas. And in my middle daughter's case, how she got her job is being bilingual, not only by learning at home, but learning through the schools. And it helps her because her job does require bilingual speaking in the state that she works in. So what I'm saying is to bring it to a close, it's important that they are able to write it as well as read it. Because once they start reading it, it's one thing, but when they're able to write it and it's in a workbook, they'll be fine. So I think this is a good program for our kids to have. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Next up for discussion, I'd like to invite our wonderful Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Mrs. Jennifer Kaminsky, who's going to briefly present to us about the Oakland Schools' proposed 23-24 general fund budget and resolution.
Okay. Actually, this is just the memo that I submitted to the board, just explaining the process for review of the Oakland Schools budget. So each year, Oakland Schools must review their general operating budget, their general education fund budget, with all 28 local school districts. So on April 14th, we had a presentation at our Oakland County School Business Officials meeting, and we were provided the opportunity to ask any questions. There was also a board designates meeting held on April 20th at Oakland Schools, and that's for the board liaison from each of the local districts to attend and have the opportunity to hear the information and ask questions as well. So just to highlight a few things, so that their budget then must be either supported or disapproved by each local district by June 1st. And so that is the reason why they have to review this information. So included in their budgets, ISDs are different from local districts in that they receive most of their money through property tax levies. And so this year, they do have a property tax increase of about 5% in their budget. And that's due really to inflation. They do not have a Headley rollback built in, so that rate will not be reduced for them. So they will be collecting more tax revenue this year. And then really, you know, they do have wages, benefits built in with some increases, but their main source of expenditures in their general operating as well as their other funds is the distribution of those property taxes that they collect. So they distribute or subsidize programs for all the local districts of about $178 million. And of that, the largest of those are the PA-18 distribution, and that is for special education dollars for all of the local districts, as well as career and vocational ed. There's a millage collected for that, so that's distributed, as well as Medicaid funding. So just to highlight a few things on the Oakland budget side, and again, at the next board meeting, we're asking you to either provide your support or disapproval of their general operating budget. And I can answer any questions you might have, or I can pass along questions to Oakland Schools as well.
There are
Anything?
questions
Okay.
at this time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Oh, I do have a question.
Okay.
I mean, because you gave us more detailed information on the budget, is that available to the public?
I believe they do have their budget document on their website. So this was passed out,
Right.
obviously, to us and to the board.
Right.
But I believe it's on their website.
And you gave us a PowerPoint presentation with a lot of information.
Correct. That is part of the board packet. So there was a PowerPoint that was used to present the information.
Okay.
But everything should be, yes, available.
Is that PowerPoint available to the public, or do they have to go to the Oakland Schools website?
No, that PowerPoint, I believe, is public-facing as part of the board packet, yes.
Okay, so the public has access to that PowerPoint with more detailed information? Mm-hmm. And then if they want the entire budget, then they have to go to the Oakland Schools website?
Yes, Oakland has many other funds, but you are only required to approve their general fund.
Okay.
So
That's
yes.
all. I was just wanting to highlight that for transparency of information. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Ms. Smith, did you have any questions about that? About the budget? Okay. Thank you. Right. As we move into public comment, I'd like to remind everyone that during the public comment portion of our board meeting, members of the community are welcome to address the board. Each community member will have up to 3 minutes to speak, and we are trying something new today. A timer will appear on the screen that will display the 3 minutes, and it will be up to the speaker to keep an eye on the time. Thank you for honoring the 3-minute guideline. We wish to further remind our community that this is a meeting of the board held in public to provide transparency, but this is not a public meeting. As a result, we will respectfully listen to your comments, but will not respond or engage in dialogue with you in this venue. However, please be assured that we are listening closely to every comment and that a member of the Board of Education and/or our Superintendent, Dr. Delgado, will follow up with you so that we can set up a time to engage in dialogue together and address your concerns. We'll begin public comment. Mr. Thomas Hull?
Good evening, everyone. I'm here just first to say that I am part of the Farmington African American Parent Network, and that I want to promote something real quick. Shameless, well, it's not shameless. It's actually very helpful to the district. We're having an SAT ACT boot camp that's coming up like May 13th and May 20th. That it's currently right now. The regular price for this is on a Saturday. It's on 2 Saturdays between 9:30 and 12:30, and the regular price is $2.99. We were able to get a special negotiation to actually promote this for only $99. And then on top of that, we end up getting a grant from the Farmington Hills Education Foundation to actually subsidize it even further down to $69. So with this, I believe this is going to be very helpful for our community, and that for the SAT, ACT prep, this is like a boot camp. So anybody who's interested, please hurry up, because these spots are going like super fast in a hurry. So I think we're limiting it. Well, I think we're limited to 60 people. So please hurry up and register. And also, I had to say something here. Now this is from how I feel as a member of Farmington Hills. That one thing that when I do make a comment, or if I need to express myself, that I'm a doer, meaning that I go out and I help the children. Okay, I help the community. When there's any kind of, I don't sit back and just complain. Okay, you had to get up and start rolling your sleeves sometimes and actually helping out the problem instead of sitting back and let the problem just try to resolve itself or count on other people to fix certain things. So with that I implore any kind of community member to go about in that same fashion instead of just sitting down and just complaining about whatever that's happening. I'm not going anywhere in this district. Just to let you know that I'm here to stay. I always joke around and say I'm like a Cadillac with four flat tires. I ain't moving. Okay, so I implore anybody else who has who's part of the district that wants to help out. Please come. There's many volunteer hours. There are many ways to actually help out. So that's time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Next, we have Mr. David Villar.
I wanted to really just kind of get something off of my chest, and that is, I've been a member of this community for about three to 4 years. And when I first came here, I wanted to come here and see how I could contribute and in what ways, I could learn from the school board how to be civically active. Unfortunately, there are members of the community who come here to spread lies, to demean other members of the community, other groups, and I will not stand for it. So I'm here to say is that I'm not as much of a doer as Mr. Thomas is, and I have not contributed as much. But do you see me complaining about what other members of the community are or are not doing? No. I encourage members of the community, like myself, to participate, to go and get involved. And don't talk about what other members of the community aren't doing with their children if you're not going to those community members and asking them how you can help. This is a school board meeting. This is not a political action committee. We're not here to support partisan causes and to try to use this school board as a vehicle to create these sensationalist arguments about how corrupt they are and how we don't really know what they're doing. You guys have been quite transparent when it comes to explaining what you're spending the money on. We haven't heard of any scandals, at least not as far as I can see, with any members trying to get any kickbacks. I don't see any of that. And throughout this country, we see school boards getting taken over by racists, by extremists, by people pretending to be religious fanatics when they're really just racist people, and they're using religion as a vehicle to hurt and to cause children, especially black children, to suffer, or to watch them suffer by withholding public funds or redirecting them in such a way to pressure a school board or pressure a city council to do things that are unethical in the name of fiscal responsibility or whatever. It could be back when it was COVID, pretending that COVID wasn't real and allowing people to get sick just to justify that kind of prejudice. The list is endless, and I'm just letting you all know I'm going to keep coming here, and I will make sure that I'm the last person to speak to put an end to any other nonsense that disguises itself as, get tough fiscal responsibility when it's not.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Eugene Greenstein.
Good evening, everybody. We as people solve problems every day. And that's basically the biggest challenge we have in life. And be they little problems or big problems. It's the school's job to provide our children with the base knowledge and skills to be good problem solvers. The last board meeting, we learned from a very young, eloquent speaker that there's burnt macaroni and cheese, but it seemed that the board had paid more attention to that issue than the issues of students being literate in reading and math. Burnt macaroni even made national TV, so that's good news, I guess. Farmington got some publicity. But when will FPS literacy make prime time? The state data clearly shows that compared to our school's Michigan peers, we get primarily D's and F's. That we do better in proficiency is only because the overall state performance is abysmal. FPS is just not as abysmal when you look at performance based on all Michigan schools. If proficiency were calculated based on the top states in the country, FPS proficiency scores would be abysmal also. The benchmark should be the best if we want to improve. Chinning ourselves against a low standard really doesn't do much good. The board has one of its goals to learn how to interpret literacy metrics. The school year is almost over. That goal, at least as best as I can see, has not been achieved. The bigger issue is that the board has not given the superintendent a clear objective to fix long-running literacy deficiency in reading and math with due haste. While the superintendent's statements about literacy performance were in error, that is a minor issue compared to the board's lack of clear direction. FPS performance has been abysmal for a long time. That the entire state of Michigan's performance is among the worst in the United States is not an excuse. The board looking to the Michigan Association of School Boards for direction is hard to contemplate. Basic Management 101 calls for clear, measurable, and reasonable objectives and plans to get there. The board is responsible for FPS's performance through its direction setting for the superintendent. Since the board does not recognize that academic performance should be a priority, we can't fault the superintendent for not delivering. I am concerned that burnt mac and cheese is greeted with more alarm by this board than each new wave of subpar reading and math scores. The board needs to set clear numerical expectation for school performance, working in partnership with our academic professionals. Preying on improved performance does not make literacy a priority. Without the basics, our students can't solve problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Carl Mintz.
You know, I hear all this about the athletics and the arts, and I'm really happy to see that we're succeeding in that. It's very good. It's good that guys are good at this, and I'm happy to hear all that. What I'm worried about is the reading, writing, and arithmetic. Say a student athlete makes it, and you've heard of these stories in the past, where they get to college, they play sports, they break their leg, they're done. They can't do anything. They can't play sports anymore. So what are they going to do after that? If they can't comprehend reading or basic math or write well or speak, English well, then how are they going to succeed? Okay, I have ADD, I had ADHD. It took me many, many years in training to, start comprehending and reading. I could read. I read when I was 3 years old. But it was the comprehension that gave me trouble. What I think we need to do is focus seriously more on the reading and the writing and the basic math. These students need to be able to go out in the world and get themselves a job and be able to communicate. You can't be a Google expert the whole time and Google everything. You have to know how to read and comprehend and do basic math so you can be a success. So you're not dependent on the government or dependent on these little crappy jobs where you can't make out and be successful. So that's something I want to focus on. I'd also like to see with the budget and the money, our taxes are high. I had to pay a lot of money to the feds. The taxes are just getting unbearable after what I heard from before. And we got to figure out some kind of fiscal responsibility and keep the money, affordable so everybody can pay, because there's people, they're just not happy. They look at their tax bill and they're going to have a heart attack and they're going to move out, or they're going to say, "Ooh, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. Where's my next meal coming?" That's the next thing. Third thing is, as a realtor, I've done open houses. And people ask me where I live, and I tell them I live in Farmington Hills. They go, "Oh, you live under Farmington Public Schools?" And they're like, they give me a weird look. And this was in Novi, and they're like, "I think we're going to stick with Novi and Northville because we like the school district better." Let's make these other improvements, like I said before. I think we could be a success. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mintz. Next, we have Linda Seshowitz. Jakovich. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I was compelled to come tonight because Mr. Delgado was compelled on the April 18th meeting to discredit two very important members of our community. Eugene and Bill care, and you had claimed that they were not genuine, they weren't sincere, but they are. They have been working for years. You aren't the first person they've talked to. Terry, you remember them. They've been around at every board meeting. We as a community care about the children in our community. I moved here in 1980 in Farmington Hills. In 1999, I moved to Farmington. I stayed here. I came here the first time for schools. When I moved here, we were in the top 10 school districts in the state of Michigan. You guys all tell me, where are we now? What was the last ranking? Was it 63 or 64, something to that effect? That is unacceptable. I want to know how many third graders are being proposed that they should be retained in third grade. We used to call that you're being held back. I have a son that was held back. Okay, I have 2 sons that went through this district. Both succeeded, but times have changed. My youngest graduated in '09. Nate went on to 4 years at Grand Valley State. 2 weeks later, shipped out to Fort Benning, Georgia, and was an Army Ranger for 4 years and 19 weeks. Okay, and I did count every day. So the point is, they can succeed. But I'm going to tell you right now, you and I all know we have a lot of youngsters, a lot of children in elementary school that are falling through the cracks. So why is that not a critical priority? That should be the top banner. You can have all these lovely logos. You can be at 100% staffing. What good is it if we're failing our kids? Why don't we care? They've brought this up. Bill and Eugene, how long have you guys been coming to these meetings? How many years? And people just look at them as a thorn in their side. Why don't you instead partner with them? They're smart guys. I worked for 46 and a half years in corporate America. I'm not dumb. I survived. And yeah, by the way, I do have ADD. Thank you for mentioning that. But I determined what I had to do to be successful to work with my challenges. But we are failing our kids, and you all know it. So we can talk about getting new curriculum, new books, new this, new that. That's great for the kids that are doing well. But I'm telling you, we're failing.
Thank you. Mr. Leboy? Mr. Bill Leboy?
Good evening. I like the new timer. I'm an 80-year-old resident who moved to Farmington Hills 48 years ago when Farmington Public Schools were first rate. Now I'm worried about the decline in education quality at our schools. Why? Because I have 2 grandchildren who attend Farmington Public Schools. And I think good schools are essential to our quality of life. In January, my fears about the quality of the district's education were confirmed by the Michigan School Education Report. Farmington schools are producing a grade D product on average. We live in Oakland County, in which 60% of the school districts are rated grade D. Michigan ranks in the bottom 10 in education in the United States. District enrollment has declined every year since 2011, even as Farmington's population has grown. I think that this disparity is the result of parents voting with their feet as they seek better education for their children elsewhere. Enough is enough. It's time to fix the damn schools. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mark Forshee? Excuse me.
Well, first we were told that May Day, May 1st is a day to celebrate International Workers' Day. But the history of it is that in the 1920s in the Soviet Union, the communists were in charge there, and it was the most oppressive, impoverishing, imprisoning, violent, murderous regime perhaps the world had seen up to that point. And every May 1st, May Day, what they would do in Moscow is they would stand appropriately on Lenin's tomb, and Joseph Stalin and all his henchmen would wave to the crowds with big posters glorifying them as gods, and they would have a massive amount of military weaponry. It was a threat parade and false gods on that tomb. And they did this year after year, decade after decade for almost 65 years. This was a horrible regime. It never improved. They always celebrated May Day every single year for perhaps 65 years, maybe till 1990 or so. So history matters. And I hope that history in the FPS is taught effectively and accurately, because there's a lot of information out there, and we just assume if we're told something is nice and good, or there's a good title, there's more to the story to that. So tonight I wanted to talk about the finances again, and I'm getting, as I understand it, that the board gets information from financial people, and yes, we're told about the budget, and yes, we're going to vote about it in the future, but I would like to be in at a meeting where all the details are laid out instead of 17 million here, 22 million here. The meeting is just a show. Every vote on finances is 7-0. I give Claudia Heinrich credit tonight. She actually questioned the cost of shipping for the Spanish materials. That is so incredibly rare on this board. So good for you. But it's what is in dire need here are people who actually challenge this gigantic amount of money that taxpayers are paying for the schooling. It's way too much. And I'll tell you a story about that another time where people were educated very well for a lifetime, way cheaper. And so I'm hoping that the people in Farmington Hills realize there's a 7-0 one-party rule. This is a monopoly here, and that they wake up and that tens of thousands of taxpayers in Farmington Hills have zero representation on this board, and they're spending gigantic amounts of money, and there's certainly questionable curriculum and other activities that are going on here. That needs to change.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment?
Dr. Blau?
Yes.
I know that we don't typically respond to public comment, but just correcting a factual inaccuracy.
Yes.
Saying the International, Workers' Day began because of that. That's just factually untrue. It began in the 1850s, starting with stonemasons in Australia working for proper work rights, and that was actually the start of the 8-hour workday movement, made in May 1st, following the work stoppage happening in Chicago in about the 1880s. So just making sure that we are factually accurate in our public comments, especially when it comes to history. But that is all we are going to discuss right now, and then Dr. Blau, if we can continue with our meeting.
Yes. This is not the venue for dialogue, but you're welcome to talk with us afterwards or at another time. Is there any additional public comment? Is there any additional public comment? Seeing no further public comment, we will move on. We next have 2 action items this evening.
Dr. Blau, I move that the Board of Education approve the April 18th, 2023 closed session minutes as presented.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Weems, supported by Mr. Rich. Is there any discussion? All right. We need to do a roll call vote for this.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Mrs. Weems?
Yes.
I myself am yes. Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walker is absent. Dr. Blau?
Yes. Okay.
Motion passed.
All right. We have another action item.
I move that the Board of Education approve the 2023-2024 board meeting schedule as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rich, seconded by Ms. Weems. Any discussion? All right, we need another roll call. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe if Dr. Delgado could just explain the district calendar and the purpose of doing this now rather than at our June meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Heinrich, and thank you to the board for your consideration of this request. So traditionally, the calendar of board meetings for the subsequent year happens at the final organizational meeting. I have asked this board to approve the board dates early in an effort for Ms. Bauman and her team to create what we've started as a district calendar, that we have all of our schools meeting in advance of the school year to provide all of the information for their events, to avoid, to the extent possible, board meeting dates so our public can and our teachers can join or attend or view the board meetings. But it also allows us to provide dates to support the events that are happening at the school, as well as to avoid any conflicts. For example, feeder patterns if a family has a middle school child and a high school child, making sure we don't have events on that same night. But we work everything around the board meetings, and so your approval of these dates early really assists in us having a very organized and and systematic school year. So we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion? Comment? I would like to say that we did take a close look at holidays and where holidays fall, and one of our board meetings next year does fall on the second night of Passover, the second Seder. And while we acknowledge that, we do our best to accommodate significant holidays, and just wanted to put there. All right, we need another roll call vote for this.
All right, Mr. Rich.
Yes.
Ms. Fox.
Yes.
Mrs. Weems.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Ms. Smith.
Yes.
Dr. Blau. Yes. And Mr. Walker is absent.
Motion passes. Next, we have the consent agenda with the approval of the minutes. Yes, Mr. Rich.
I move that we approve today's consent agenda as presented.
Any seconds?
Support.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Motion by Mr. Rich, seconded by Ms. Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Do we have any reports this evening from board representatives? Yes, Ms. Smith.
I was able to attend the PTA council meeting on April 24th. Myself, Ms. Bauman, and Dr. Delgado. Academic questions were brought up, and the superintendent did give an update, and the focus on math and reading, bringing up test scores. Staffing for next year is being reviewed, as well as 200 families are interested in the school of choice. And I covered the date for and the volunteers for the DEI conference, as well as Dr. Delgado and Mr. Smith is working. And I guess they're both still working to try to get the lieutenant governor to come in on that day. That date is May 15th. A sign-up genius will be coming out, as well as a volunteer list, as well as something for the board. It is going to be held at Mary Grove from 8:30 to roughly around 2-ish in the afternoon. There was discussion on COVID funds for closing the gap on math and reading literacy, and also the mental health crisis. Once the funds are depleted, Mr. O'Brien will be seeking out grants because those monies will be, I guess, closed. The funding will close in 2024. As of current, we have, like I said, 200 spaces that can be filled with schools of choice. I'm excited, and I've been wanting to do this since I got elected 7 years ago, the early fives, and that's being done by Dr. Kelly Coffin. This is an amazing program for our young littles to be able to come and go to school. So that's starting this year. And then kindergarten orientation, May 8th. We are finally going back to in-person, the literacy tea, and that will be held over at Longacre Elementary. I don't have the time, but the tickets are $20. And letter grades were brought up, and Dr. Delgado explained they are really not needed until we get to high school level. So if you got any questions about any of those things, you can reach out to Dr. Delgado. But again, congratulations to us doing the early 5 program. Many of our students have been leaving as early 5s and going over to Livonia. So now we have our littles that'll be coming here. So that's my update.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. Any other? Yes.
Yes, so last Saturday, the FAMPN organization host an apprenticeship for students and for high school students here in the district. We also had a number of vendors that were there to talk to their families and the students. So we also actually had early college representatives, Oakland Community College. We actually had the Farmington Hills Police Department and a number of CTE organizations. And as I said, there was about maybe 50 students and their families that attended. Very well done.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Any other reports from board representatives? Right, seeing none. Recommendations for future agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. Good and welfare. Yes, Ms. Smith.
So I've had the liberty to take part this past weekend at the Michigan School Board Association, and I took some more classes. And I took CBA 344, high school and beyond, which I thought that was interesting because we have been in current dialogue about what we're going to do with our students, with them not being able to go forward with, our test scores and everything. And the second, one of the other classes I took, because I took several, CBA 365, Collaborative Conversations for Effective Decision Making. And that brings me to, and this is my good and welfare. I'm not looking for, rebuttal. I'm not looking for, this is solely not speaking on the board. This is me speaking. These past few meetings have been just very disturbing to me. I am very hurt to see that we have community members that are coming forward, that are speaking because they want answers. And I have to admit, I'm speaking for myself. I have felt this board. I have felt this community because the people of this community are asking for questions to be answered. They're asking about what we can do to help bring our students' test scores up. We may not all get along. We may not get, one group may be on this side, the other may be on the other. But we are in agreement that we are here for the students. We have to admit that we've done something. We have to admit we have to learn to do something to fix this. We've heard from FAPN saying that our African American students and families are moving out. We've got to do something to bring us back together and figure out what we can do to become a community that, because we're all fighting for the same thing. It's just being said differently and done differently. I've been able to sit down and have conversations with one of the community members that comes forward. We don't always agree, but we have agreed that we want to do the right thing. I will not, despite how many people may feel, I will not disrespect a community member and call that community member a liar or they are wrong. So I apologize if anyone in this community's feelings have been and were hurt. But at the end of the day, we're all angry, but we're doing it sometimes in a bad way, sometimes it's in a positive way. But we've got to figure out how to do this so that we all are on the same page, because we're all fighting for the right thing, and it's for our students and the children. And I learned that by going to this class, the 365 Collaborative Conversations and Effective Decision Making. But we also have to be consistent. If we tell our members of this community they can't speak, they can't have this going back and forth, we got to do the same thing. So I apologize. I apologize for us not being able to be literate enough to know what the data is. And I plan on continuing to take more classes to educate myself on what we should be doing to help with these test scores and help our students. And then on the lighter note, I was able to go over to Beachview Elementary. So for those that have had issues with our Dream Kings, I was able to sit and watch at Beachview two gentlemen sit and talk to our young youth, our 4th and 5th graders. And I encourage any of you that are interested to take a look, and it's a positive program. And it's not just for African American students, it's for all students, those that need to be uplifted and be taught how to be kings in this community. So again, I apologize for letting my community down, and I will be speaking up and speaking out, because that's what you all put me in for, even those that didn't vote for me. That is what my job was to be elected to do, is to listen, and listen to learn and not to defend. That's my statement that has been used. And I'm appalled that it's being used and it's not being used correctly. So thank you.
Any other good and welfare?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to attend the FPS Awards of Excellence breakfast, and it's really such a nice event. Dr. Delgado does a very nice job, but we had students from 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th grade from all of our middle schools and all of our high schools represented. And the nice thing about it was not only were the students recognized for their excellence and academic achievement, but each student had a staff member that they recognized that made a difference to them, and they read a little paragraph that they actually wrote from their hearts about the staff members. And so it's really nice to see our staff being effective and not even really knowing that they were going to be recognized. So it was a nice celebration of excellence. So thank you.
Yes, you're right.
I just quickly wanted to thank the students and staff at East Middle School for having me to talk to their students as kind of a capstone for both the social studies and English language arts curriculum, looking at some of the readings that they're doing and mixing that with the talks that they've been having on how does the immigration system work? What is the process for refugees coming to our country? What are these different steps of not only coming in, but then resettling and all those. I had a great time with the students. They had a lot of really good questions. And I'm glad that I asked them for a lot of those questions ahead of time so that I could do my own homework and make sure that I came to them with some good answers.
Did you have one of those teachers when you were going through Farmington?
So I didn't have any of those, but the teacher who bought the books that kind of spurred on these conversations is Christy Fifield, who is one of my favorite teachers that I've had in my life. So I was very blessed to have her, and it was good seeing her in the back of the room as I was talking with all the students.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We do have a community dialogue coming up on May 30th. We'll be setting that topic coming up soon. That is one of the initiatives that we as a board have taken to provide opportunity for us as a community, collectively, community and board members together, to collaborate in civil discourse. So we encourage all of you to come and join us for that community dialogue. The other two that we've held so far this year have been very powerful and successful, and we look forward to having you join us for that on the 30th of May. Also, the dance company who we saw earlier today, they have their performance at Farmington High School on the evening of Thursday, May 18th. So if you'd like to see more of their performances, that's where to be and when. All right. If there are no other items for good and welfare, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Still light out.
Thank you all very much.